Thank you for joining this lesson. Remember to share. Remember to subscribe. Remember to invite a friend. Just invite a friend as we start. I'm already sharing. Remember also to share. Please invite someone. Today it's going to be powerful. I can see guys already representing Machakos School. That is great. Maurice Onyango. That is wonderful. Molo Academy, among others. Arizon from Mnyenzeni. Wow, that's great. UK, from US. I like that. Moi High School, Kabarak. Gitau Secondary, Kapsabet High. This is interesting. I want to request you to kindly invite a friend. You can invite friends from your school. You can invite friends from even beyond your school. This one is going to be Mathematics Paper 2, Section 2, as I said. Yeah, Section 2, as I said. You can see we are already 64, and it's the start. So allow me to bring the paper to you. Mathematics Paper 2, and I've said Section 2. Yeah, we'll be doing Section 2 today. We might not finish everything, but I'm going to do my best. We might not finish everything, but I will do my best. Dr. Agri, this is great. Best teacher in Kenya. Wow. Thank you so much. So today I request you now today we are tagging our math teachers. Please greet your mathematics teacher and appreciate them for the good work that they are doing back at school. Recognize your mathematics teacher today. Recognize your math teacher today. I'm still setting up myself. Remember to recognize your good mathematics teacher. Remember to recognize your mathematics teacher. As usual, our number is 0704153366. Easy to master. Remember to use it. You can consult using the number. You can request for learning materials using the same number. That is the same number you can use to appreciate the teacher for the good work. Number 17. Remember, you are supposed to answer only 5 questions. So you should choose your questions very wisely. Consider the weight in a question. Consider how complex or simple a question can be. Then you proceed to do it. If it looks so difficult for you, you are encouraged to skip that question. But today, because I'm doing a presentation and I'm not doing an exam, I'm going to do all of them if time will allow us. Number 17, the figure below, we have a PQRST is a right pyramid whose base PQ equals to 8 centimeters, as you can see, QR 6. Then we are told that PT, QT, RT, and ST are all equal, and they are equal to 13 centimeters. Somebody tells us that J and K are the midpoints of QT and RT, respectively. So we can see the diagram. Now the first question is telling us to determine part A, the height of the pyramid, the height of this pyramid. That is the Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. People are turning up, and this is encouraging. The height is going to be, I can see some people are already responding. So let us look at the height in this case. It's good for you to subdivide the figure for you to understand it more. When we come up with the diagonal, which is a PR, the diagonal of the base, then you realize that following triangle PQR, we just need now to deal with what we call Pythagoras theorem and say 8 squared plus 6 squared. Then we carry out the square root. We are supposed to get 10 centimeters. So this is 10, which means in case we draw another line now from the top to the base, we can even use that center here as O. We can call it center O, such that OR is let to be, this one is equal to this one now. So we have 5 and 5 centimeters. So we can use 5 centimeters and 13 centimeters of TR to get the vertical height. Again, we apply Pythagoras theorem. 13 squared minus 5 squared. Then we obtain the square root. This is going to give us exactly 12 centimeters. That is the height of this pyramid. The height of the pyramid. I can see people are seriously greeting their mathematics teacher. That is wonderful. The school and the math teacher. The school, the math teacher. Please recognize your school and your mathematics teacher. Your school and your math teacher. Your school and your math teacher. Wonderful. We are now talking about the angle between length TS. The angle, the length TS makes with SJ. We have TS and SJ. TS and SJ. Now, when you look at that question, you shall discover that we now have to go slowly. Let me draw the line to show that angle. Yeah, the angle line TS and SJ are making, TS and SJ. This is now the angle that we want. That is the angle that we want. It's good to know that we can, first of all, we can work with the triangle STQ. Triangle STQ. Triangle STQ. Let's work with that. Triangle STQ. Triangle STQ is having a, let me extract it even, STQ. This is our triangle STQ. I'm now going to focus on the presentation. 13 centimeters STQ. ST and TQ are 13. Then from S to Q is still the same diagonal, and that diagonal is of 10, which means if it's of 10, then we will talk of 5 and 5. So allow me start by obtaining the angle at this point. The angle at this point, the angle at that point, the angle at that point. Or we can even get the angle exactly at S. Let's even go direct to the angle at S. And I will use my calculator there together with the simple trigonometric ratios, whereby, because for the angle here, if we let it to be theta, we shall be having the angle, the hypotenuse, and we have the adjacent length to that angle. So we'll talk of cosine of theta. Cosine of theta equals to adjacent length 5 out of an hypotenuse 13. And this means for us to get theta, then we need the cos inverse of 5 over 13. Yeah, the cos inverse of 5 over 13. This is going to give us a value equal to, let me work it out, shift cosine, we open brackets, 5 over 13. This is going to give us exactly 67.38. 67.38 degrees. If the angle there is 67.38, then we want the angle between now ST and SJ. It's good to know that J is the mid of TQ. The mid of TQ. So if J is the mid of TQ, then it will bisect. It's going to bisect the angle at this point. It shall bisect the angle at this point, and we shall have it divided by 2. So we can divide this by 2, and we'll get 33.69. So the angle there is 33.69 degrees. We can also look at the angle between PTS and the base. PTS and the base. Mr. Muthini McBee, wonderful. Embakasi girls. Alfonsa Kisau, wow, this is great. This is great. Kariuki from Nyahururu High. Wow, this is wonderful. Kambala girls, great. Okay, the angle between a base and a plane. Now this is the angle between two planes. For you to get the angle between two planes, let me make it clear for students. For you to calculate the angle between two planes, we are supposed to, first of all, you draw a line through each plane. So through the middle of the first plane, which is the base, we draw a line like that. Then through the other plane, we also draw a line. Remember, we should draw a line such that it is perpendicular to the line where the two planes intersect. So we draw a line through STP, and we also draw a line through the base. Now the two lines are making an angle. That is the angle that we want in this case. So we got our height here of 12, and we are also having, now that from this point, assuming this is X and this is Y, now from X to Y there are 8 centimeters, because it's the same as PQ, then it means there is 4 at this point. And so we can get the angle being made by the line through the base and the line through the other plane. So that angle can be given by tangent 12 over 4. So the tan of that angle equals to 12 out of 4, which is 3. This means for us to get the angle, we need the tan inverse of 3. The tan inverse of 3 will give us exactly 67.38. 67.38 degrees. 67.3 71 point, sorry for that, 71. This is 71.57. degrees. Yeah, 71.57 degrees is the angle that we want. The angle between the plane PTS and also the plane PJKS. PTS is already the plane on our left, and PJKS is the plane made by the two midpoints there. So there is a plane which is connecting J and K. Then that plane now goes through or down to P and to S. There is a plane there. There is a plane through that. People are supposed to get a certain concept here, such when you draw that plane, I think now you can see it well. When that plane is drawn, people should understand that the plane cuts the vertical line at a point. It cuts the vertical line here at a point where it is 2/3 from the top. It's going to cut the plane at a point 2/3 from the top. 2/3 from the top. Therefore, when we say 2/3 from the top, it means if the plane is passing, now the point where it cuts this line, which is 12 centimeters, it will cut it such that it leaves 4 centimeters here and 8 centimeters on the upper side. So the plane through the midpoint there will cut the vertical height 2/3 from the top. 2/3 from the top. That is a rule. That is a rule which must be understood. So now we are having the plane passing there. Remember, now we need the angle between that plane and the plane PTS. So what we're supposed to understand is that we need to get the angle between the plane first of all and the base. So between the plane and the base, we can use 4 and 4 again. Remember, we have 4 at this point. Yeah, there is 4 centimeters there. So we have 4 centimeters and 4 centimeters up to where the plane passes. So we can say the angle at that point. The angle at that point can be given by, again, tangent of that angle will be 4 divided by 4, giving us 1. So the tan inverse of 1. The tan inverse of 1 is usually 45 degrees. Therefore, between the base and the plane PJKS, we're going to have exactly 45. If there is 45, remember, between PTS and the base, there is an angle. So I want us to use this technique. This is a PTS. Then there is the base. Now we are talking about an angle of 71.57 degrees. With such an angle, there is also another plane now, which is between these two planes. There is an angle between these two planes, or there is a plane here. There is a plane there, such that then the plane and the base are making 45. Remember, there is 71 point. So now between PTS and the angle here, and the plane here, PJKS, we need to subtract 45 now to remain with the angle now remaining between those two planes. So 71.57, we subtract 45, we're supposed to get exactly 26.57 degrees. 26.57 degrees. Makweni boys represented. Pardon, please. We have a Maseno school. That's wonderful. That is wonderful. Somebody is saying, I repeat, and I'm going to mention that concept again. The concept says, if we have a plane which is passing through the midpoint of these slanting sides, there is a plane which will pass through, we are talking of through JK. JK are the midpoints of TQ and TR respectively. So if we draw a plane there all the way to the base, we are concluding that, or I'm advising people to know, I'm giving a very sensitive information such that this plane now, this plane is going to cut the vertical height, or if you pass at a point where the vertical height, remember there is a vertical height here of 12 centimeters, so it shall pass at a point where it's cutting the vertical height 2/3 from the top, or 1/3 from the base. So if the height is 12, now the plane is cutting it. The plane is cutting this height now at a point where we remain with a 4 here and 8 up there, such that it's 2/3 from the top and 1/3 from the base. So that is how the plane should behave, the plane which passes through there. So students must understand that. We are continuing. There is a question here on variations. It's good to know that for you to understand variations, or for you to pass in variations, you are supposed to be in a position to convert these statements from English statements to mathematics expressions and equations. From English to mathematics. Garissa High. Somebody is telling me kujiangamia. I'll come for that, Kemo. You know my number. Please write my number so that I may come for the Kemo. I will come for it. Don't you worry. Thank you so much, you guys. Remember, our number is here. Those who want to send their Kemo, 3366. Consult us through this line. Two variables, P and Q, are such that P varies as the square of Q and partly as the inverse of Q. I want us to deal with that information up to that far. Two variables, P and Q, are such that P varies partly as the square of Q. So you write the proportionality symbol and Q squared because it's the square of Q. People should read these informations carefully because sometimes people are told the square of Q, they start omitting the square, they just write Q. Sometimes you are just told square, people go ahead to write square root. A lot of funny misinterpretations. Let us just be keen with the details. Square of Q and partly as the inverse of Q. Partly, so we add, the other part is as inverse of Q. The inverse of Q means now 1 over Q. This one is we can come up now with this. This is the interpretation. Now we come up with the general equation, whereby we shall do away with the symbol of proportionality and we introduce two constants of proportionality. Two constants for the two parts. P equals to, let's say, a constant K multiplied by Q squared plus another constant divided by Q. Now this is the general equation. That's a general equation connecting P and Q. We are told that given that P equals to 10.5 when Q is 2.5, and again P equals to 30.75 when Q equals to 4. Find part A, the equation connecting P and Q. So let's get the specific equation now by finding the value of the constants which we are using here, the constants of proportionality. Let's write equation 1. 10.5, that's the value of P. We are substituting in the general equation, equals to a constant multiplied by 2.5, the value of Q, squared, plus a constant C divided by 2.5. This is equation 1, and we can simplify it further. We can do away with the fraction actually by multiplying through by 2.5. When we multiply through by 2.5, we shall end up getting a, let me multiply this by 2.5, 10.5 by 2.5, I'm getting 26.5. So 26.5 equals to, when we square this part, okay, remember everything is being multiplied by 2.5. So 2.5 squared times 2.5 again, we're supposed to get 15.625. 15.625 K plus C. Let me call this one equation 1. Then I continue interpreting until I come up with a second equation, and I solve the two equations simultaneously. We are further told that P equals to 30.75, sorry, when Q equals to 4. So we write constant times 4 squared plus C out of 4. We can multiply through by 4 such that we get 123 equals to 4 squared times 4 becomes 64K plus C. This one is our second equation. So we have first equation and second equation. We can solve them simultaneously, by the way. And as we solve them simultaneously, we should be very quick to make the work easy, not difficult, to make it easy. Because we can solve using elimination method, provided the coefficients of C are already equal in both equations. So 26.5 equals to 15.625 K plus C. So we can eliminate C by subtracting. When you're subtracting, C becomes 0. When you subtract, we get now 48.375. 48.375 K. And on the other side, when you subtract, you get 96.75. 96.75. Yeah. So that to remain with K, we have to divide through by 48.375, and K becomes 2. When K equals to 2, we can substitute now in any of the equations. For example, in equation 1 and or in equation 2 for us to get the value of C. So when we substitute K in the first equation, we shall have 26.5 equals to 15.625 by 2, because now K is known, plus a constant C. And to remain with C, we have to know that the value becomes -5, because you multiply these and you subtract it to the other side, you are going to remain with -5. So now with the constants, we can now write the specific equation connecting P and Q. This specific equation shall be P equals 2. The value of K is 2. Q squared. C is negative, so we shall introduce a -5 out of Q. This is now the general of the specific equation. linking up P and Q. We are also told to find the value of P when Q is 1.5. So P equals to 2, the value of Q 1.5 should be squared, minus 5, the value of Q is 1.5. So when you compute this, you shall say that P equals to, we can narrow it down by having, first of all, 4.5 minus 5 out of 1.5, which becomes 3 1/3. Actually, 3 1/3. Sorry, 3 1/3. So that when we carry out this computation, we shall remain with 1 and 1 over 6. 1 and 1 out of 6. So that is the value of P. That is the value of P. Somebody is advising me something. 6.25, sure. Yeah, that is thank you, very good. I think people are that is correct. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for that correction. Yeah, sometimes I make mistakes. It's good to correct that. My calculator is okay. My calculator is okay. Mr. Muremi, receive greetings from your students. This is good. Now let's continue now. Part C. Q is directly proportional to the square root of R. This is another information now. Q is directly proportional to the square root of R. So we can interpret this and say Q equals to a certain constant. We may call it T multiplied by the square root of R. So this means that Q, then Q is 3.04. When R equals to 3.61, find the relationship. So we need to say that Q equals to 3.04 equals to T multiplied by the square root of R, the square root of 6.61, 3.61. So to remain with T now, we are supposed to divide 3.04 with the square root of 3.61. This is giving us exactly 1.6. When you get 1.6, now you can write Q equals to, instead of T, we write 1.6, then the square root of R. This one is the equation now, connecting them. Then we are again saying that part 2, we find the relationship between P and R. The relationship between P and R. Mr. Mutune, receive greetings. P and R. So it means we go back to the equation about P now, which says that P equals to Q squared minus 5 out of Q. Now we want to write the relation between P and R. Remember, there is a relation between P and Q and also Q and R. And now that we have an equation for Q, we can substitute it in this first equation. And that means we can say P equals to 2, instead of Q squared, we have 1.6 root R squared. 1.6 root R squared. Then minus 5, instead of Q, we write 1.6 root R. So this now can be solved to be P equals to 5.2 R, 5.12. When we square the root of R, it shall become R now. So 1.2 R, then minus, this is going to be 5. 5 divided by 1.6. I think this can be computed now. 5 divided by 1.6, this gives us 3.12. 3.12, yeah. 3.12. Then 125, yeah. Then we divide by the value of the square root of r. Value of the square root of r. So that is it. Now we can talk about number 19. Using a ruler and a pair of compass, construct. Using a ruler and a pair of compasses only, construct. Matiliko boys represented. This is wonderful. This is wonderful. Thank you so much, Matiliko. I will say hi to Mr. Mutune. Wow, this is great. This is great. I know Mr. Mutune. He is a friend and a classmate. No, not a classmate, a schoolmate of me. And that is grateful. There are some people who have not yet subscribed to this platform, and I want to request them to do the same. Kindly subscribe to this channel. Kindly subscribe. Whenever we go live, you'll be seeing our notifications. Whenever we upload a new concept, you'll be able to see what we are doing. So remember to subscribe kindly. Remember also to invite a friend. There is that person who has a low esteem, somebody who doesn't have confidence in mathematics. Bring them to us. We shall show them how to do things. This is a question on loci and geometry, and we shall handle it. Because of the tools, I told you that when we are handling things like geometry, I will just be giving some guidelines. So I'm going to guide. I'm going to guide on this. I'm going to guide on this. Somebody is asking how we got 5.13. Remember to follow through very keenly. Just increase your accuracy. People today are not liking the lesson. Please like our lesson and subscribe. Using a ruler and a pair of compasses only. Those are very special instructions. We are using a ruler and a pair of compasses only. Construct triangle ABC such that AB is 9 centimeters, BC 10. Then we are told that angle BSC equals to 75. We start by AB 7 and 9. I will not measure accurately, but remember, when you'll be reviewing this question, you'll be expected to draw accurately. So assuming that we have our 9 here, we have our 9 centimeters measured here. This will be A, this shall be B. Then we are also told that the angle at A, because it's BA, BSC, will be 75. We don't have a protractor to measure this angle. We are supposed to use a ruler only. So what we are supposed to do is to, first of all, construct 90 degrees. Somebody is telling me, good work, Mwalimu. Thank you so much, Mwalimu. I can see Kcse math tutorials is around. That gentleman is also offering mathematics in YouTube. You can consider following him. So thank you so much for being around, Mwalimu. We shall help the students together. So we are going to construct, first of all, 90 degrees at point A. You just bisect there. You produce a 90 degrees angle. Then with 90 degrees now, you again construct a 60 degrees on the base. So standing here, you make an arc, and standing on that arc, you cut the arc on the upper part such that what you shall produce here is 60 degrees. If this is 60 degrees and we had constructed 90, then it means the remaining angle there is 30 degrees and it can be bisected. So you bisect the 30 degrees, you make an arc, then you make other arcs there, such that when they intersect, you now produce an angle. It will be 15, 15. Now, after bisecting 30, you get 15, 15. And with 15, 15, then confidently you can produce this line, knowing very well that 15 and 60 give us 75. So we shall stand at B, and we, using a radius of 10, we make an arc at that point, so that it becomes our point C, because from B to C, it should be 10 centimeters. So this is going to be our C. So that is tentatively how the triangle is going to appear. Remember, I've not measured, I have just demonstrated. Remember, I'm not measuring accurately. I'm just demonstrating how you're supposed to. St. Bakita girls represented. Wonderful. Precious blood. Kagwe. This is wonderful. This is wonderful. Uruma girls. Mrs. Impiru. Wonderful. Mwalimu is doing some good work there. Say hi to your respective teachers while you go back to school. Yes. Let's go back now to the question. We shall find some instructions here so that we construct some loci now. On the same side as C, construct the locus of P such that the area of the triangle APB equals to 13.5. You're supposed to know that when you see this issue of area, it only brings about the parallel line construction. So we need a parallel line from AB, and that line will be the locus of P. That line should be such that in case we draw a triangle APB, it should have a certain maximum height, and that means we need area of 13.5. This is given by, this area will be given by half times a base of 9 centimeters multiplied by a known height. So this height is going to be exactly 3 centimeters, to mean that point P is going to be 3 centimeters away from AB. So 3 centimeters away from AB means, because we have been told to the side where C is, now we shall, because we already have a parallel line here, we already have a perpendicular line here, sorry. We already have a perpendicular line here. We also draw another perpendicular at B. I'm just showing you a simple way of drawing the parallel line. We have another perpendicular at this point. We raise another perpendicular at B. We already have a perpendicular at A. So with those two perpendiculars now, what you're supposed to do, we need to measure 3 centimeters now. From A, we measure 3 centimeters. You make an arc. From B, you measure 3 centimeters. You also make an arc. 3 centimeters, 3 centimeters. So with such, now we can use those two marks to draw a line. It's going to be parallel to AB. It's going to be parallel to AB. So this is going to be our P. That is the locus of P. With such a locus now, because it is 3 centimeters away, we can draw triangle APB anywhere on that line, and the area is going to be 13.5 because it will be 3 meters away. 3 meters away. What I mean is if we draw from A to any point on this line, let's say to that point, then to B, this is going to be, we're going to be having a height here of still 3 centimeters, such that the triangle will be having an area of 13.5. So that's why I'm saying point P can be anywhere along that line. Anywhere along that line. So we have that one constructed. Let's look at another loci. That is done. This one is done. The other loci is on the same side as C, construct the locus of Q such that angle AQB equals to 60 degrees. This one is called the constant angle loci. Constant angle loci. Mwani girls represented. Wonderful. Say hi to Mwani. There is a shortcut for constructing 75 degrees easily. That is great, but please don't be used to shortcuts. Just use the recommended ways to come up with the desired angles. If we approve your shortcut, well. Okay. We are talking of the constant angle loci. How do we construct the constant angle loci? We need a circle loci now, such that on that loci, we shall project an angle of 60 degrees, which means for us to produce an angle of 60 degrees on a certain loci, this is A, this is B. So for us to project an angle of 60 somewhere on a circle, on a circular path, we need an angle of double this one, an angle of 120 at the center. And you should be knowing that we are applying angle properties of circles such that to project an angle of 60 on a certain circumference, we need a center whereby the same chord can produce an angle double that one. So we need a center with double that angle, which means for us to have that center with 120, then we need some base angles of 30 degrees each. So we produce 30 degrees here. We also produce another 30 degrees here. So when 30 and 30 are drawn, 30 degrees and 30 degrees on this other side, automatically we shall have a center which is having 120. Now when we get the center with 120, standing at that center and drawing our circle now with the radius OA or AB, OA or OB, then we shall have now the constant angle loci produced like that. And that is what you are supposed to do up there. Please come up with such a locus. Then we are also given more instructions about, remember this will be now our Q, because on Q we can only produce an angle of 60 degrees, since at the center we are having 120. Finally, locate R within the triangle such that AR equals to, no, AR is less than 5. These are loci of inequalities, and there is no equal to. It is strictly less than. So it's going to be incomplete. It is going to be a dotted locus. If it was a AR equals to 5, it would have been a circle. But now it's going to be a dotted circle. So we stand at A with a radius of 5. So you will stand at A with a radius of 5, and anywhere along that circle is our R, though in this case we need it incomplete. Sorry for that. We need it incomplete. So we do an incomplete circle. An incomplete circle, but because we want AR to be less than 5, then AR is going to be, or R is going to be anywhere within the circle now. But beyond the circle, it is greater than 5. So we shade there. That's now unwanted. The circle locus. Beyond the circle, it will be dotted. Beyond the circle, it's going to be dotted. It's going to be dotted. Thank you for this. Pardon the constant angle loci. The constant angle loci. I want to refer you to Shifting Grades Online School. This is the same channel whereby you are going to get more explanations about the types of loci. So you will continue with the same question. You will continue with the same question. But now we can talk something about Machakos I. Okay. They call it Machakos School. Thanks, Mwalimu. Welcome so much. Okay, number 20. Number 20. Remember, you are supposed to consult us through the line 0704 15 33 66. That's your line. The weight of loads by 100 trucks at the Naivasha Weighbridge was as shown in the table below. So we got a table here whereby the weights have been put in the weights in tons. They actually masses in tons. They have been put in classes, as you can see, 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40, 41 to 50, 51 to 60, 61 to 70, together with their respective frequencies. That is the number of trucks. Assuming an average load of each truck is 42 tons, assuming an average load of 42 tons, calculate the actual average load of each truck. This is a technical way of examining the mean. And the first technique is here. You know, a student must be very sharp to interpret this language. When we are told average, when you are defining mean, you say that a mean is the average of a given data. Therefore, when we are saying average load, we mean we are assuming an average load of 42. So we are going to use an assumed mean of 42, exactly 42. So allow me quickly to manipulate this data and change it to have the table now, so that the classes are going downwards, so that I may be able to put some several columns and enable my computations. The classes can have the frequencies. After the frequencies, we can have the difference between or the t, in other words, f of t, and we can also have the cumulative frequencies here, depending on the links which I'll be calculating. So we have an assumed mean, a technical way of giving you assumed mean. So we can have the classes first. Can have the class here. We are having a 1 to 10. We are having 11 to 20, 21 to 30. Then there is a 31 to 40. There is 41 to 50. There is 51 to 60. There is 61 to 70. There is 71 to 80. There is 81 to 90. Then there is 91 to 100. 91 to 100. These are the classes. Let me give the respective frequencies. The respective frequencies of 2, 10, 13, 2, 10, 13. Then there is a 17, 18, 14, 17, 18, 14. After that, we have 10, 6, 6, and 4. 10, 6, 6, and 4. These are the frequencies. So the first thing we are going to obtain for each class is the value of x. X is usually the midpoint of each class. So the lower limit plus the upper limit divided by 2. Lower limit plus upper limit over 2. So 5.5, the first one. This one, we're going to first of all get again the value of t, which is the how each midpoint deviates from the assumed mean. The difference between the midpoints and assumed mean, that is a t. So for us to get the first t, we need 5.5 minus 42, and we get negative 36.5, such that if we want ft, it will be now 2 times the value we have here, which is negative 73. We can calculate again 15.5. 15.5, the next is going to be t, which is going to be negative 26.5, and we multiply this by 10, we get negative 265. We proceed to 25.5, then the thickness here, which is a t, and that is a x minus a, we're going to have negative 16.5. This one will be multiplied by a frequency of 13 to give us negative 214.5. Then we have 35.5 as the midpoint. T is going to be negative 6.5, such that when we multiply this by t, a t of 17, we get negative 110.5. Then there is 45.5. At this point, we shall have 3.5. Now with 3.5, we can multiply it by 18. 3.5 by 18 will give us 63. Then there is a 55.5. When we subtract, we shall get 13.5. And when we multiply this by 14, we get 189. 189. Then there is a 65.5. We subtract and get 23.5. Then we multiply by 10, we get 235. There is again 75.5 as the midpoint. We get 33.5. We multiply by 6, and this will give us 201. Then there is 85.5 as the midpoint. We multiply by 6. Okay, we subtract first, we get 43.5. Then by 6, we get 214. 214. Finally, 95.5. We multiply these after subtracting, get 53.5. Then multiplying by 4, we get exactly this was 261. Sorry, we have 261 at this point. 261, then 214 is now coming in, such that if we want to get now the sum of f of t, the sum of f of t, we shall add everything and get 500. And after adding to get 500, 216, it's already corrected. It's already corrected. It's already corrected. Okay, so now we shall talk about mean. Mean is usually given by assumed mean plus the mean of t, sum of f of t divided by the sum of f. So we will need 42 plus 500 out of 100. Remember, we have already been told something. We have already been told something. This is 47. We have already been told something that this is for 100 tracks. So for 100 tracks, you can anyway add to confirm, but it is not a must. As long as, okay, it's good to add and confirm. It's good to add and confirm. Let's talk about the cumulative frequencies. This is what will help us now to get the value. Thank you for staying around. Remember to subscribe. Remember to subscribe. Remember to subscribe. Okay. Yeah, you minus x from, no. You minus assumed mean from x. You minus assumed mean from x. That one must be understood. Let's get to the next question very fast. Determine the range of weight of the tracks in the third quarter. So when we talk about the third quarter now, when you talk about the third quarter, we mean what you call Q3. We mean Q3. And for us to get Q3, now we are supposed to, this is the upper quartile, in other words, the upper quartile. The upper quartile. Therefore, we say that the upper quartile Q3 is given by lower class boundary plus 3/4 of the total frequency minus cumulative frequency just before that class out of frequency of the class multiplied by the class width, which is also called the class interval, which is also called the class size. So lower class limit or lower class boundary, sorry, cannot be determined unless we get, first of all, the upper quartile class. For us to get the upper quartile class, we need to be having cumulative frequencies. We need to be having cumulative frequencies. So we can write cumulative frequencies. The first frequency is 2. The second one is 10. So we get 12. 13, we get 25. 25 plus 17, we get 42. 42 plus 18, we shall get 59. I think so. 42 plus 18, we get 60. 18, yeah, we get 60. Then there is a 60 plus 60 plus 14, we get 74. 74 plus 10, we get 84. 84 plus 6, we get 90. 90 plus 6, we get 96. 96 plus 4, we get 100. These are the cumulative frequencies now. So we need 3/4 of 100. This will give us exactly 75. Now we're going to look at the class that is having the 75th track. Therefore, this is going to be the class. This is going to be the class. The upper quartile class. This is the upper quartile class. The upper quartile class. Therefore, if this is the upper quartile class now, we can now go to the formula. Remember, when you follow the cumulative frequencies and we want 75th, up to this point, we only have 74. So the 75th track is in the class where there is a cumulative frequency of 84. So now we go to the formula. Lower class boundary will be 60.5. Because the limit is 61, then 60.5. Plus 3/4 of n is 75, minus cumulative frequency before, which is just 74, divided by frequency of the class, which is 10, and the class interval is 10. So 10 and 10 can cancel. This is a 60.5 plus 75 minus 74, which is 1, and we're getting 61.5. 61.5 tons. Somebody is telling us that in part C, 20% of the tracks were found to be overloaded. Determine the maximum recommended weight for a truck. You must know that for the truck to be overloaded, then it will be among the last 20, which are carrying very high loads. The last 20. Therefore, if we are calculating the last 20, it means the recommended weight is the weight which is the weight carried by the first 80%. In other words, this is a technical question to help you or to check whether learners have understood percentiles, and apart from percentiles, to check whether you know, apart from talking about the 20 which is overloaded, that we need the mark, we need the mass which is carried by the first 80. So we need 80th percentile, 80th percentile. Therefore, 80th percentile is what we need now. That's a very technical interpretation. The first 80% is the recommended. So the mass carried by or the weight carried by the first 80% will be given by lower boundary plus 80% of n minus cumulative frequency just before that class divided by frequency of the class multiplied by the class width. For us to know the 85th percentile class, we need 80 out of 100 times 100. So we need the 80th track. The 80th track will be contained in the same class which was having the upper quartile. Boundary will be 60.5 plus 80% of n is 80 minus cumulative frequency before divided by frequency of this class, which is 10, multiplied by a width of 10. We'll have 60.5 plus 6. So we get 66. I'm sorry for that. We get 66.5. 66.5 tons. 66.5 tons. We are now finishing the first 5 questions. We are finishing the first 5 questions. And we are in number... somebody saying good work, Mwalimu. Thank you so much. Garissa High is in here. Wow, Mr. Situma Ngotobo is wonderful. That is great. Continue tagging your teachers. Continue tagging your teachers. Continue tagging your teacher. Tag your mathematics teacher, please. Say hi to them. Ichuni girls, hi. Wow, wow. This is interesting. This is interesting. Let's look at commercial arithmetic. This is a very interesting question. I've tried to go through it. It's a question which requires a student to have a very deep understanding of the topic. You cannot just handle this question unless you have understood it. You cannot just go through it. You must be a good student. You must have understood. You must be having the knowledge on commercial arithmetic for you to be in a position to handle the question. Okay. The table below shows the income tax rates for a certain year. Income tax rates for a certain year. Monthly taxable incomes in Kenya shillings, then the rate of percentages for the taxations, the rate of tax in percentages for each Kenya shilling. Mr. Bambla is an employee who earns a basic salary of Kenya shillings Y, and he is entitled to a house allowance of 5,480 per month. He is also entitled to a monthly personal relief of 1,162 Kenya shillings, given that his employer deducts 6,075.75 Kenya shillings as income tax each month, calculate part 1, the monthly gross tax. You are supposed to know that gross tax can also be called the total tax. The total tax. This is the tax a certain individual is supposed to pay if it were not for relief. This person pays 75.75 because there is a relief that they pay. So for us to get gross tax, we get the net tax. It's given by net tax plus relief. If we had gross tax, for us to get the net tax, we would have subtracted relief. So now we add back relief for us to get the total tax. So 60.75, we add 1162. This is going to give us exactly 7237.75 Kenya shillings. The next thing we are getting is the gross monthly income. Gross monthly income, whereby everything is being taxed, can also be another name of taxable income. Taxable income. That is in the case where the gross tax is fully being taxed. Nothing in non-taxable here. We're not told that the guy enjoys anything which is non-taxable. Therefore, the gross monthly income is also the taxable income. It is also the taxable income. So we are getting the amount which is supposed to be taxed for us to get 7237.75. And so we are going to tax using the brackets here until we achieve a tax of 72.37.75. 7237.75. So the first bracket is giving us 10,165. So 10,165 is being taxed at the rate of 10%, and we shall get 1016.50. We continue taxing until the total tax amounts to 7237.75. So in the second bracket, we shall have 19,740 minus, so you have to subtract 10,165, and you will get 95.75. So 95.75 at the rate of 15%. This is going to give us 1436.25. The next, when you look at the taxes and you try to add them, they cannot reach 7237. So we continue taxing. In the third bracket, we shall have 29,316, and we subtract 19,740. This is giving us 95.76. So 95.76 multiplied by 20%. When you multiply by 20%, you are getting 1915.20. When you add them, we are not getting our total tax. So we continue taxing. We just continue taxing. I hope we are together. I hope we are together. Mwangaza Secondary, David Muchiri, thank you so much. From Tinkanga Secondary, wow. I'm keenly following. That is this is wonderful. Just like a back taxation, wow. Janet Chalo, you are former student from Muka Girls, has said hi. This is wonderful. Thank you so much. Say hi to my former student. Othayabo is well represented. Wonderful. Okay, we are continuing to tax. Remember, we should tax until we get the tax which is provided there. We should just continue taxing. So in the next bracket, we need 38 892 minus 29,316. This is giving us 95.76. So 95.76 at the rate of 25%, we're going to get exactly 23.94. When we add all the taxes that far, remember we are remaining with the last bracket. So when we add all of them, we will not be able to get 72.37, which means there is an amount which remains. And so we are going to tell ourselves that there is an amount remaining here, such that when we add all the taxes, we get 72.37.75. So we add all of them here and realize that we are getting 67.61.95, which means now when we subtract from the total, we are remaining with, let me use a different color there, we are remaining with 475.80. That is the amount remaining, so that all the total taxes now amount to 72.37.75. This is the remaining amount. That's the remaining amount. So it means there is a certain amount, we can call it Y, okay, X. Let me use X. There is an amount X being taxed at the rate of 30%, though, so that it gives us 475.8. So X is going to be, when you compute, you multiply through by 100 over 30, and this is going to give us a 1586. 1586. So there is 1586 at this point, which means 1586 is the one to be taxed at the rate of 30 to give us 475.80, such that now when all the taxes are added, they give us this. You must be able to coordinate that. So now we can get the total taxable income, which is also the total gross income for this individual. So we start by 10,165. We add 95.75. Then we add 2 multiplied by 95.76. That one is appearing twice. Then plus 15.86. And our gross tax, or gross income, sorry, gross income for this individual is going to exactly be 40,780. 478, sorry, 478.00 Kenya shillings. So this is the amount we can call our taxable income. So it's also called the gross income monthly. So when we tax this amount, now we shall get 72.7.75. So that is the amount that we wanted. Calculate the last part of it. Calculate Mr. Ombabla's basic monthly salary. So for us to calculate it now, we need to say that the gross income that we have is given by basic salary plus all allowances. So we shall say that 40,478 is given by a basic salary Y plus all allowances. When we go to this information, you discover that there is only one allowance provided. That is the house allowance of 5480. House allowance of 5480. So we shall talk of 5480. So that Y is gotten by the balance now. We just have to subtract, and this gives us 34,998. Kenya shillings. So that is how we handle such a question. So thank you so much for following up to this point. We have done at least the first 5 questions. Tomorrow we shall continue with longitudes and latitudes. Make sure you cooperate. Make sure you invite a friend for tomorrow's lesson. Okay, I can see you guys are still around. We can handle this one on the longitudes. On longitudes, we can check the question. A jet on a mission left P, 60 north, 15 east, to another town Q, 60 north, 165 in the west, on the Earth's surface at a speed of 300 knots using the shortest route possible. Take pi as 22/7, radius of the Earth 6370 kilometers. Calculate the distance traveled in nautical miles, following the shortest distance. Let me show you a sketch of this information. Let me show you a sketch. We are having the prime meridian and the equator there, so that when we are having a 60 in the north and 15 in the east, now we can talk about 165 in the west. The shortest route between two places, remember, this is where we shall have our P, this is where we shall have our Q. Now from P to Q, using the shortest route, it will be when we go through the North Pole. And through the North Pole, we shall be tracing a great circle through the North Pole. Therefore, the shortest route between 2 points, which are on what we call supplementary longitudes, is the distance along or across the pole. Across the pole means we move. Remember, this one is 15 in the east, and this one is 165, 165 in the west. So with 165 in the west and 15 in the east, there is an angle difference of 180. We call them supplementary longitudes. When you move from P to the North Pole and you continue following the same route, you shall find yourself, just check here, this is the North Pole. Then you are moving from P. P is somewhere here. Then you move to the North Pole. When you start flowing down to Q, you automatically find yourself, this is 15 in the east, you find yourself automatically in 165 in the west. So such a route is the shortest for places in such longitudes. You move along across the pole and you discover that from 15 automatically you enter to 165 in the west. And so that being the shortest route and around a great circle, then we can get the angle difference here. The angle difference from the two places with 15 and 185 on 165 on the other side, it's going to be 180. Sorry, not 180. Let me show you the arc length there. The angle at the center is going to be, remember, the two places are both on 60 in the north. 60 in the north. Therefore, assuming that we have equator here, 0 degrees, then we need to measure C to go to P. We need to measure 60 to go to Q. So with 60 and 60, it means there remains only 60 here, because it should be 180 complete. The complete loop is going to be 180. So we have 60 to P, 60 to Q, which means the angle between there, when you move along the pole, it shall be 60 degrees. So for us to get distance in nautical miles along a great circle, we need 60 times theta. So we only need 60 times 60. And this is going to be 3600 nautical miles. 3600 nautical miles. So we are already having Kesho mwalimu tafadhali. Okay. Yeah, so we can continue from there tomorrow, but at least we have calculated the distance along the great circle in nautical miles. Remember, the other thing will just be after some time or after some communication, the jet turns round immediately. Let me do the last one now. Immediately and heads due east of town Q with the same speed. However, it runs into a bad weather after covering 2700 nautical miles. Remember, now it's moving along the parallel latitude because it's moving to the east, which means that it is forced to land at X. Find the position of X. We know that a distance in nautical miles along a small circle is given by 60 multiplied by the angle difference, cosine of the latitude where the two places are. Therefore, we have a distance of 2700. This is given by 60 multiplied by beta, cosine of the latitude, which is 60. And we are going to get an angle difference, which is equal to exactly 90. So we shall move through an angle of exactly 90. Remember to subscribe kindly. We are finishing up. Remember to subscribe and to share this link with a friend. Friends who did not manage to attend the live broadcast, they can still follow up with the lesson later. So don't worry, they are going to see the same lesson. So now we are talking of, we are moving from 165 now towards the east, and we are not covering an angle equal to 165, which means we will still be in the west. So we take 165, we subtract 90, and this is giving us exactly 75, which means we are in 75 still in the west. So from 75 west to 165 in the same west, there is an angle difference of 90. So this means that the position of X is going to be, we are still at 60 degrees in the north and now 75 degrees in the west. So this is the position of X. We shall continue from here next time. Remember to subscribe. Please don't leave without subscribing. Our number for consultation remains 0704 15 33 66. This number you can consult. You can request for revision materials to the same number. You can use the same number to appreciate the good work done by the teacher. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Say hi to your parents.